Hello YouTube, Dave here again with the upcoming release of the Spelljammer Adventures in Space set. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to just make a few videos going over some of the new options included in the Astral Adventurers Guide. This video is going to focus on the two new backgrounds that are added. I also plan on doing a separate video going over the new races that have been added, as well as a third video going over the actual Spelljammers and how they sort of function and the rules for them. I'm also going to have my full review of the Spelljammer Adventures in Space set. That should be out in about a week's time. I did do a first impressions video a little while ago, which is up on my channel. It's just a couple of videos ago in the chronology of uploads. And honestly, a lot of the thoughts that I had in that video do hold up fairly well, but there are a few things that I do want to talk about when it comes time to do the actual review. So that's going to be in the very near future. And like I said, I'm going to go over the races that are added in this book, as well as Spelljammers themselves in separate videos as well. But today we're going to be taking a look at the Astral Adventurers Guide, the two new backgrounds that were added. We'll go over them, and then I will give you my thoughts on them individually at the end of the video. So the new backgrounds start on page 7, and the first one that we have here is the Astral Drifter. I do love the fact that it's a plasmoid because, spoilers for the race video, I think the plasmoids might be my favorite new race in this book. But for the Astral Drifter, it says, "For longer than you can remember, you have traversed the astral sea. There you experience firsthand the wonders of the silver void. You stopped aging and no longer felt hunger or thirst. Driven by wanderlust, you drifted from one part of the astral sea to another like a mote of dust on the wind. You have lost count of the decades that have passed since you arrived here. In your travels, you have camped on the petrified hulks of dead gods and narrowly escaped the psychic winds that sweep across the astral sea while also avoiding prolonged contact with the plane's most dangerous denizens. For skill proficiencies, you automatically receive Insight and Religion. You also gain 2 languages of your choice. It does recommend Celestial or Gift, but you can choose whichever 2 that you wish. For equipment, you are given a set of traveler's clothes, a diary, an ink pen, a bottle of ink, and a pouch containing 10 gold. For abilities, you get Longevity. You are 20d6 years older than you look, because you have spent that much time in the astral sea without aging. So the first thing you get to do when you are creating your character using this background is you get to roll a big old fistful of d20s to determine how old you actually are. You also get the feature Divine Contact, so you gain the Magic Initiate feat from the player's handbook, and you must choose Cleric for the feat. The Magic Initiate gives you access to 2 cantrips from the class that you choose, as well as 1 first level spell. The cantrips follow the normal rules for cantrips, and the spell can be cast once per day at its lowest level, so basically as a first level spell, and you regain the ability to cast that again once you've completed a long rest. So you gain that essentially for free, and then in the astral sea you cross paths with a wandering deity. The encounter was brief and non-violent, yet it made a lasting impression on you. This deity saw fit to share one secret or obscure bit of cosmic lore with you. Work with your DM to determine the details of this knowledge and its impact on the campaign. And you can roll on the table or choose yourself which deity it was. So you have like Corlon, the god of magic, Timor, the god of fortune, Farlangan, Istis, the god of fate and destiny. That's kind of a cool one. And then you've got some other ones, Hecate, Celestian. It's kind of cool to see some gods that you don't normally see mentioned in a lot of the D&D products. Like some of these are definitely like the Greyhawk gods, but you do kind of see ones that aren't like the normal ones like Paelor, Bacab, or stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to see them on there. And the secret that you learn is something, like I said, you work with your dungeon master, and it could play a very interesting role in the actual campaign. Now, what's kind of interesting about the background here is they don't have the like the bonds, the flaws, the character stuff that you have in the other backgrounds. So like the character personality stuff. I don't know if other recent books with backgrounds have done that as well. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head, but that's the information that you get for the Astral Drifter. Then the other background that you receive in this book is the Wild Spacer. So you were raised in the void of wild space, home to asteroid miners, moon farmers, and other hardy folk. Perhaps you grew up in a far-flung settlement such as the Rock of Brawl, or spent your early days on the crew of a spelljamming ship, performing helpful chores such as swabbing the deck, loading and offloading cargo, and scraping barnacles off the hull. Obviously, they would be space barnacles, but yeah, kind of interesting there. Whatever your history, life in wild space has toughened you so well that you are as brave as a miniature giant space hamster when it comes to facing the terrors and other challenges of the airless night. Skill proficiencies, you receive athletics and survival. For tool proficiencies, you gain navigator's tools and space vehicles, which makes sense. Your equipment is a belaying pin, which acts like a club, a set of traveler's clothes, a grappling hook, 50 feet of hemp rope, and a pouch containing 10 gold. For abilities, you have Close Encounter. So you had a harrowing encounter with one of Wild Space's many terrors. You escaped with your life, but the encounter left you with a scar or two, perhaps a reoccurring nightmare. Roll on the Close Encounter table to determine which creature nearly got the best of you. Creatures marked with an asterisk appear in Boo's Astral Menagerie. The others are described in the Monster Manual. So you have things like the Beholder, Cosmic Horror, the Fear, Lunar Dragon, Mind Flare. I'm not even going to try that one. The Nyoji, Space Clown, these Space Clowns, the Vampiret, and the Void Scaver. The feature that you receive is the Wild Space adaptation, so you gain the tough feat from the player's handbook. In addition, you learn how to adapt to zero gravity. Being weightless does not give you disadvantage on any of your melee attack rolls. See weightlessness in chapter 2, so that's something we can look at in a future video. The tough feat grants you 2 bonus hit points per level that you have when you take the feat. So at first level, it would obviously be 2 extra hit points, and then anytime you gain a level thereafter, you gain an additional 2 feet. So those are the 2 new backgrounds that are added here. Like I said, it's interesting that they don't have the bonds, flaws, and ideals. Like that aspect of the backgrounds doesn't appear with these 2 particular options that they have here. I think it just kind of goes along with the newer philosophy of just allowing you to sort of choose your own, sort of customized options. I kind of miss it though. I've got to admit, I did love especially the flaws. I loved the flaws associated with a lot of the backgrounds, and that's something that I would have liked to have seen in this book. But the backgrounds themselves, they're interesting. The Astral Drifter, I have to say, at first I wasn't a big fan of the fact that either of these backgrounds grant you automatic feats, but truthfully, the feats that they chose are relatively minor. There are races in D&D that grant you certain spells and cantrips as an innate ability anyway, so I think that's fine. The fact that the Magic Initiate is limited to Cleric, so you can't choose like a Wizard or Sorcerer or stuff like that. I think it's fine. The fact that when you're in the Astral Sea or in the Silver Void, you don't age or require food or drink anymore. It's definitely an interesting concept, and who wouldn't love the idea of just getting to roll 20d6 during your character generation. The Divine Contact, again, is also kind of a cool concept that you and the Dungeon Master can work together to kind of weave into the campaign, and the secret that you learn, could be something that becomes relevant at a very pivotal moment in the campaign. So overall, I think that's pretty decent. The Wild Spacer, again, a pretty decent background that works well within the confines of, the Spelljammer setting. Again, like I said, the only real issue that I take with the backgrounds here is that they just don't include the bonds, ideals, flaws, and, that aspect of the character that you can sort of use to flesh out the character's personality. But other than that, definitely some interesting choices. And if I were to make a wild spacer character, I would obviously have to choose Beholder as my close encounter because they are my favorite D&D creature of all time. Although I have to say, encountering space clowns would definitely be something that would leave your character having nightmares, so that might be a good choice as well. Overall, decent options, cool concepts. Again, just wish they had more of like the character personality trait sort of information, but still pretty decent overall. Now, I have to say, as far as like the feat granting the feats go, I, off the top of my head, could not think of any other background that automatically grants a feat. I definitely could be wrong, though. I did take a look through a few books like The Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, the Eberron campaign setting, as well as the Ravenloft ones. So if any official Wizards of the Coast released D&D books do have backgrounds that grant feats, let me know in the comments. I know personally I'm just not a huge fan of feats in 5th edition, so I will admit a little bit of bias at first, and it took me a bit to kind of get over that, especially when realizing that the feats that they chose are kind of some of the more mild ones to take. But yeah, overall, like I said, definitely some interesting choices. Let me know what you think of them in the comments below. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you come back for the next video in this series, where I take a look at some of the new races, or actually all of the new races in this book, including the greatest race in 5th edition D&D to date, the Plasmoids, at least in my opinion. Anyway, thank you guys once again. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care.